everyone. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. A lot has changed in the week since we were last together. Schools are closed. Social distancing is the new normal. Government offices and businesses are closed to the public. The stock market is all over the place. More cases of COVID-19 are being reported. Still not enough coronavirus tests available, and the list continues. So how are you handling the changes? Have you been affected in terms of work? How are you handling childcare and helping your kids learn at home? In this next hour, we'll answer your questions and tell you the latest about the impact of coronavirus in Virginia and in our nation. Stay tuned. Another View will be right back after this news from NPR.
Discussing today's topics from an African American perspective, this is Another View.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. We here at Another View hope you're doing well with all of the changes to our lives as we implement ways to stop the spread of the coronavirus. So on today's show, we'll focus on your health, the economy, and the education of children as we all grapple with social distancing and other effects of this pandemic. And we're also going to address the awful rumor that is flying through the Black community that Black folks are immune from this disease. We are going to talk about that. It is not true. We have a panel of experts with us, and we're ready to answer your questions. The number is 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. So we want to welcome to Another View Dr. Elias Siraj. He is the professor of medicine and director of the Strelitz Diabetes Center at EVMS. Dr. Siraj, how are you?
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. We also want to welcome internist Dr. Alvin Harris. Dr. Harris, how you doing?
Here.
It's so good to have you with us. Thank you. Author, motivational speaker, and retired Air Force Chief Master Sergeant Anthony Brinkley joins us. Hi, Anthony. How are you?
It's great to be here.
Thanks so much for being with us. And Norfolk Public Schools Communications Representative Barbara Hunter is with us. Hi, Barbara. How are you?
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And joining me here in the studio, brave man that he is Dr. Eric Claville. He is the creator of the Claville Report and director for the Center for African American Public Policy at Norfolk State University. How you doing, Eric?
Doing wonderful.
Good. So I know I threw a lot of names out at you. I'll reintroduce everyone as we talk to them about our specific topics. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. We're here to answer any questions that you may have regarding COVID-19 and the coronavirus. Dr. Siraj, I want to start with you. First of all, today we were supposed to be at your center with a live studio audience to discuss diabetes in the Black community, but because of social distancing, we canceled our live appearance there. But diabetes is one of the underlying factors that they talk about in terms of people with compromised immune systems with health issues that may be more adversely affected by coronavirus. Can you tell us what the correlation is with diabetes and the coronavirus?
Okay, good question. I was looking forward to the diabetes program at our diabetes center, but hopefully we will be able to do it at another time.
Yes, we will. We promise. Yeah. We will reschedule.
Yeah. So I think to address your question about diabetes and the coronavirus, diabetes has been observed to be one of the risk factors, which leads to which is connected with bad outcomes. So the factors which have been seen to lead to bad outcomes are older age, the presence of diabetes, the presence of heart disease or high blood pressure, and then the presence of lung disease. So when we say it increases bad outcomes, the likelihood of a diabetes patient getting affected might be similar to others. There's no evidence that the likelihood of infection is higher. But the problem is once you get infected, you may have a higher chance of getting a bad outcome and also death. So to give you some numbers, As you know, this is an evolving thing. As we are learning new facts every day. If you look at the totality of what's happening in the world, about 2 to 3% of patients who get the virus infection die. But if you look at the risk factors, if patients with diabetes, the risk of dying is about 7 to 9%, which is almost 3 to 4-fold higher than people without, any other risk factors.
So what are you telling your diabetic patients?
So basically what we are telling is, I think the first thing is actually, let's start with, should diabetes patients come to their doctors for their routine every 3 months or every 6 months visit right now? What we are doing is actually, we think for diabetes patients to come to the doctor's office for a routine visit may not be the best thing right now. So what we are doing with our patients is actually, we are calling them, at their appointment approach, and we are trying to handle it as much as we can over the phone.
Okay.
Obviously, if their condition is bad enough for them to come, then we'll make them come. We are trying to minimize them coming into a physician's office where they get into contact with so many other people and getting infected. So my suggestion to diabetes patients who have routine appointments with their doctors is to call their doctor and see, do I really need to keep this appointment, or can we do what we have to do over the phone?
Okay.
And also to add that, even the government, including President Trump, has mobilized a lot of resources so that telemedicine is going to be expanded, so that patients can actually communicate with their patients through online, through what looks like a web conference or Skype, so that they can actually talk and the treatment will be handled appropriately. That's going to be for the future. But for right now, call your doctor to decide if you have to go for your routine visit.
So if you have diabetes, should you automatically try to get tested, or is it more important for you to just wait until you may exhibit some symptoms, as everyone else is right now?
Yeah. So I think you don't have simply to be tested because you have diabetes.
Okay.
I think what you have to look at is the key symptoms, which are fever, dry cough, you get short-winded, shortness of breath, and then you have either an international travel recently, or you came into contact to someone who has had international travel and who got sick, or whom you had a contact to someone who is confirmed to have coronavirus. So if you have, if you belong to those categories, you have the symptoms or you have contact, then what you should do is you shouldn't immediately go to ER either.
You should not
do that.
You should not do that. Okay. Do not go to the ER.
Yes. Call your doctor and then let your doctor guide you. He will ask you about the symptoms, and then if you fulfill the criteria, he will tell you where to go to be tested. Okay. As you know, in different places, testing sites are being created. Some of them drive-through testing.
Right.
So if you have symptoms, not simply go to the doctor's office or to ER. Call your doctor first. The only exception is if you are really, really sick, not only fever, dry cough, shortness of breath, but you are almost, I wouldn't say like passing out, but really, really sick, then you have to call 911 and go to ER.
Okay.
But short of that, if you get some of the symptoms or if you have contact and you worry about the condition, call your doctor or your primary doctor or the diabetes doctor and let them guide you if you need to be tested. Okay.
And one last question, Dr. Swaraj, before we let you get back to your patients, because we know that you're really, really busy. What about diabetes testing kits, medications, that kind of thing? Is there any concern that there will be a shortage of that, or should people be concerned about not being able to get access to that?
As of right now, I haven't been made aware of any shortage.
Okay.
Our patients are, getting what they need. As you know, as a nation, there seems to, we are always concerned when a disease like this affects all countries. And as you know, we are interrelated with a lot of countries in terms of economy and where some of the things are made. We worry about it, but as of right now, we haven't seen any problem, and our patients are getting their medications.
Okay. All right. Thank you very, very much for joining us. And we will reschedule, we promise you, in the near future to talk about diabetes in the African American community.
If you give me 1 minute, there was one
Sure.
more thing which has been in the press, and I don't
absolutely.
know how many of your viewers might have seen that. There were a couple of things in the media about two important groups of medications. One is the medications a lot of diabetes patients get for blood pressure or for kidney protection. We call them ACE, which is ACE, or another group name for those medications is ARBs. It's a lot of them, but a lot of diabetes patients take them for blood pressure. There was something in the media saying those medications could be bad for the coronavirus. But as I can tell you, a lot of the professional societies, like American Heart Association, have said there is no enough evidence to say that. So patients should not stop their blood pressure medications based on those media reports. And if they have questions, they can always call their physician. And the second one is the medication which a lot of patients get for arthritis called ibuprofen.
Yes.
There was also a lot of media report about that. And initially, the World Health Organization actually said ibuprofen might be a bad thing if you have coronavirus. But as of yesterday, the World Health Organization actually reversed its opinion, and they are saying there is no enough evidence also to say that. So because of the speed of this epidemic, you are going to hear news like that, and I encourage your viewers, in particular those who have diabetes, to talk to their doctors, call them.
So don't make any changes unless you talk to your doctor.
Themselves. Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much. That is Dr. Elias Siraj, the director of the Strelitz Diabetes Center at EVMS. We really appreciate him calling. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call to join our conversation, and we will answer any questions that you have regarding the coronavirus and COVID-19. I want to bring on now and discuss with Anthony Brinkley, who is an author, motivational speaker, and retired Chief Master Sergeant from the United States Air Force. And Anthony, there is a rumor that is flying through the community, the black community specifically, that black folks are immune to this virus. What do you say to that?
Well, one, thank you for the opportunity.
Sure.
And I think one of the other reasons that I think I may be able to add value is that one of the things that I deal with is crisis management. And one of the biggest things in crisis management is to understand the information and apply it appropriately. So I'll just go to the source. One, the answer is whenever you're looking at race-based medicine, they're typically wrong. And so basically the saying is race-based medicine is typically bad medicine. And even if you look at someone like Otis Broadley, who's a professor of epidemiology and oncology at Johns Hopkins, he even said recently that, let's be clear, despite the many claims, contrary to truth, there is no fact in the claims that genetic differences, immunity, or susceptibility to disease are based on race. So what happened was we had a couple of people, as we talked to an African American community, they contracted this virus, and then we started to determine their level of blackness. Well, they're not as black as me, so they have this going on in their background, or they have this, or they have that in their descent.
You know what,
so we
Anthony?
started trying to figure it out.
Hang on a second, because I want to play a clip to that very fact, because Idris Elba, the actor, who is British, went online to talk about this very thing, because people were saying, well, he's British. What does he know? He's not really black. Let's listen to his quote, to his comments.
Something that's sort of scaring me when I read the comments and see some of the reactions is my people, black people, please, please, please understand that coronavirus, you can get it. There are so many stupid, ridiculous conspiracy theories about black people not being able to get it. That's dumb. That is the quickest way to get more black people killed. I'm talking about the whole world, wherever we are. Please understand that you can get it. Stop sending out the stupid WhatsApp messages about black people not getting it. That's ridiculous. Just know you have to be as vigilant as every other race. This disease does not discriminate. And as a black person who's contracted the virus, it needs to be said, stop sending that shit out. It's dumb, silly, and it's going to get more people sick.
So with that is proof there. We have NBA players who have been diagnosed positively with COVID-19. You know, the list goes on. So how do we stop this kind of rumor, Anthony?
So the one thing that I tell people is I deal with resiliency, and I travel around a lot talking about this kind of stuff, is the first thing is, people already, especially in underserved communities, they're walking around in what I call a slow simmer. It just takes a little bit that cause them to kind of boil over. So a lot of people are dealing with chronic stress. So one of the first things I tell people is, one, make sure that you have the information, the correct information. Secondly, as it talks about the physiology of how we process stuff, take a breath and assess where you are. I mean, just the simple act of taking a breath, it actually gives you oxygen to your frontal lobe, which gives you a better ability to process information. And then as you start to become more anxious about stuff, channel your anxiety. You have a great platform with other people that are going to speak after me and even just spoke before me about what people can do in real time, whether it's connect with other people in more creative ways, understand that there's access to forums that are giving out the right and relevant information, and then understand the key is every day in America, 7,000 people die. 7,000 people who thought they were going to wake up today in America didn't. 7,000 who think they'll wake up tomorrow will not. So just enjoy or appreciate the present. Most of anxiety is a fixation on what may happen. And typically when you're anxious, you're not even dwelling on what is happening. So one of the things I tell people as I get quiet so you can take your show back, one of the things I tell people is that you don't get rid of a bad thought by thinking. Because your mind, it's almost like your mind is buffering. It doesn't have enough bandwidth, so it keeps kind of keeping that thing buffering. How you get rid of a bad thought is actually speaking something, reminding yourself audibly by simply saying, hey, I'm doing okay. Hey, I have a good support system. I don't have it figured out totally yet, but I have access to things. When you actually audibly speak things, you actually tell your brain to engage in another way and disengage. So if we do some of those things, coupled with being connected to a great source of information like you have, I think we have a better chance of coming out this more resilient.
So let me ask you this, Anthony. If you know someone or you have a family member or a friend who suffers with anxiety and they're trying to overcome it, what are some of the words or ways that you can help them? Because sometimes people get frustrated, and they may say the wrong thing or they may not be as empathetic. What can we say or how can we help each other to be able to work through this pandemic?
Well, you just hit it on the head. I tell people, when I talk to people coming back from deployment that's dealing with PTSD, and you don't have to be in war to have PTSD, you just have to be exposed to a traumatic situation like many people are in America. I say when you come back physically, a lot of times you're not back emotionally, spiritually, or relationally. So our job is when you try to reconnect with those people around you, let the connection be bridged with a bridge of empathy. So let empathy be the way that you connect. Even if you don't agree with what someone's saying or doing or conveying, connect with them through empathy by trying to understand why they see things the way they do. And then when you do that, then you say, listen, okay, how can we walk this out together? Like I typically tell people, what we're going through right now is bigger than you and it's bigger than me, but it's not bigger than you and me. So lastly, I would say to that is that understanding that sometimes we tell people to ignore their emotions act like it's not going on. No, how we can help people unpack their stuff is to acknowledge, I feel anxious, I feel upset, I feel frustrated, and in most cases, all feelings are incomplete pieces of information. So we help them unpack their feelings once they put them out and say, is what you're feeling true, or are you magnifying it because it's an acute situation going on? So once we allow them to feel their feelings, now we address them based on reality, based on information, based on connected, and in most cases, we can be self-healing in those processes.
Absolutely. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Have you heard the rumors in the community that Black people are immune to coronavirus? Are you dealing with a family member or someone who is maybe not handling this as well as you would hope? What ways can you help? Give us a call if you have any questions. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. I want to move on to bring in Barbara Hunter with Norfolk Public Schools. Hi, Barbara. How are you again? Barbara, are you there? Hello, Barbara? Well, apparently we must have lost her, so we'll try to get her back. In the meantime, Dr. Alvin Harris is with us. Dr. Harris, you are becoming a regular here on Another View. We love the fact that you are joining us. And I know that you're working with the prison population. How are they handling things at this point?
Whether you are incarcerated in a prison or whether you are with liberty in the community, the rumors, the tensions, the anxieties, even the hysteria that we see as a result of this coronavirus is alive and well. And the major fear that it generates is the fact that people die. And every day they talk about not only the increase in numbers, but they also talk about the numbers of people who have died. And so the biggest way that not only in corrections, but also in the public at large, there is hope that we all, whether you are a rich man, poor man, beggar man, or thief, we have hope for the future. We are people of survival. We will overcome this virus like we have all the other calamities that we have met in our lives. And so we must be mentally aggressive. And one of the things that's really interesting is that a number of people are beginning to look at how we treat each other in good times and saying things that this is a Chinese virus. This is not a Chinese virus. This is a human virus. And we must love one another based on the hope that we have always had for the future. And so regardless what the stock market does, we will survive. And we must make preparations for our future.
Absolutely. And we're going to be talking about the stock market with Dr. Eric LaVille in just a little bit. I think we have Barbara back on the line now. Barbara, who is with Norfolk Public Schools. Are you with us?
Hey, good afternoon.
Hi, how are you? So sorry that we lost you there for a moment. So
No worries.
I know that all of the schools in Virginia and many across the nation are closed. And what are you hearing from parents and from students in terms of how they're able to continue learning while they're at home?
Right. Thank you so much, Barbara, for having Norfolk Public Schools as part of this important discussion. We've been communicating with parents about the importance of kids staying engaged during this time period that we know is uncertain and can be very stressful for parents. We have prepared learning packets that we have posted online so kids can continue learning even at home. And we've also made sure that even for those kids who don't have online access, of which we know there are many in Norfolk, we have created hard copies of these learning packets. And they're available for pickup at all of our school food distribution sites that are currently in operation through March 27th. And so parents are swinging by and picking up meals if they need for their kids, as well as learning packets. And it all seems to be going very smoothly.
Okay. So we know that African American students in particular, many of them are behind the curve, if you will, in terms of being on grade level, reading at grade level, doing math at grade level, etc. Are you concerned that this population may fall even further behind since we're not in the classroom?
One of the things, yes, one of the things that we want to make sure is that kids don't regress. And this can almost be looked at as almost a summer break, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
That time that we know kids do regress if they don't have an opportunity to stay engaged, to be doing learning activities. And so one of the things, we have a few tips for parents to consider as they help support their kids that are learning at home now. First of all, we encourage parents to create a schedule so that kids know what to expect in their day. We know this uncertainty can cause a great deal of stress. So parents can carve out specific times for kids to focus on learning, to dig into their learning packets. And we even have office hours, virtual office hours set up for all of our teachers to be available between the hours of 10 to 2. So any child, any parent can call their child's teacher to ask questions about the assignments, to address concerns that they may be experiencing and challenges. We're just 1 week into this break, and we know this is an evolving situation, and so we're going to be helping parents every step of the way.
Do you think that there are maybe opportunities, I guess virtually it would have to be since we're practicing social distancing, but I'm thinking about those families where education may not be a priority, and whether or not the child actually is encouraged to do their work, or there's a space provided, or they have the computer or not. I know that there's been lots of information posted on low or no cost internet, and also many school districts have been giving out Chromebooks and or refurbished computers and so forth. But for those who may not have access to that, do you think at some point there might be an opportunity for people to do maybe virtual mentoring or coaching or anything like that to help?
Yeah, absolutely. I think our teachers and our principals are exploring all kinds of ways to reach out to our kids and our families. Of course, the most low-tech way is through a telephone call, and that's, all teachers will be accessible, as I said, between the hours of 10 to 2 on weekdays for those phone calls. Email certainly is another opportunity to communicate. I know some principals are even exploring the use of YouTube to deliver a morning message by video to students, because we know there's going to be some sense of isolation, right? This may feel kind of interesting and maybe even exciting for some kids and parents, but we know, beyond March 27th, the governor has only stated this closure currently is till March 27th. I'm sure he'll be reassessing that next week. This may extend beyond that. And so we know that kids and parents may need some extra support to stay focused on their learning. And so one of the other tips that we offer is for kids to also take breaks, to go out, get some fresh air, take a walk, practice social distancing, of course, but we also want them to have a balanced day as much as possible. And also for that reason, we are providing meals, breakfast and lunch for folks.
I was going to ask you about that because you've expanded 3 more locations as of yesterday,
exactly.
right?
Starting today. We're at the Titustown Recreation Center, Huntersville Community Center, and Grandy Village Rec Center. And we're actually having a school bus deliver those meals at those locations. And so certainly it's one meal per child who has to be present to get the meal. Of course, accompanied by a parent or family member if they're young. And those are just federal guidelines we have to obey by.
Okay. If you're just joining us, we're answering your questions about educating your children, staying healthy, and navigating the economy during the coronavirus pandemic. Our guests include Dr. Alvin Harris, Dr. Eric LaVille, motivational speaker Anthony Brinkley, and Barbara Hunter with Norfolk Public Schools. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call. Let's talk to Frank in Norfolk. Hi, Frank. You're on the air.
Family, as always, you bring the hot topics, and this is a hot topic not only for African Americans, although your question was not answered quite well. I think African Americans will suffer a little bit more. But not only that, it's all universities, the whole educational system has to be awakened with this crisis, and this is an opportunity for teachers in high school and teachers in universities to update their skills with the new technologies.
Okay. All right, Frank, thanks so much for the call. Actually, that's a perfect segue into Dr. Eric LaVille, who is the director of the Center for African American Public Policy at Norfolk State University. And I guess you are immersed in the entire university experience. Norfolk State wound up sending home all of their students this week. How's that going, first of all?
Right. As a matter of fact, not just NSU, but also other universities within the Hampton Roads area. And in my consultation with other leaders of university outside of the state and other states within the United States, right now, what the fax machine did for the speed of business is what COVID-19 is doing for online learning for universities. Now universities are looking at, this is a paradigm shift. So we're looking at a new model. Professors who are able to deliver education through online means. We're really going to test out through university policies, whether if we're really prepared for this type of situation. Are faculty prepared to teach in this way, or students prepared to learn in this way? So it's a big experiment, and all of us are really involved in looking at this big, great experiment.
So some universities are more advanced in online learning. I think in our area, we think about Old Dominion as an example that has been doing distance learning and online learning for quite a while. There are other schools, particularly HBCUs, who may not have gone with that model in the past. And so are they having to scramble to try to figure out, or do they have the infrastructure in order to be able to have a successful spring semester despite this disruption?
So Blackboard is what we call old technology. You can deliver messages, you can deliver videos, you could put exams through Blackboard. So every university has Blackboard for the most part and can actually operate without even touching the student and still communicate via video and so forth. Mm-hmm. The question becomes, are the faculty actually trained to do that, and have they been doing that? I know that NSU does offer online courses. A lot of universities in the Hampton Roads area do. So Virginia is pretty ahead of the curve as it relates to offering those online courses. But as the caller just stated, and as the question that you asked, as it relates to students K through 12, I think there will be a negative impact in the learning curve because a lot of parents are not really equipped to teach their children or guide their children through the educational process. And also you have to talk about stress at home, right? So you got a lot of people who are impacted through the economy as it relates to service workers. There was a study, projection that about 90% of hospitality workers will be impacted through this economy shutdown. That includes waitresses and waiters, hostesses, cooks, dishwashers, hotel workers, anyone in hospitality, Lyft drivers, Uber drivers, the whole nine, people that work cashiers at convenience stores and so forth. So they're at home with their children now. So they're trying to figure it out, how to get bills paid. They're trying to figure out how they're going to meet the rent for the next month. And then the children are there as well. And now they're forced to help them and teach them with their work. So that's going to be an issue. As it relates to universities, believe it or not, the universities are sometimes the safest place for a lot of children, teenagers or young adults who are leaving areas back home that could be poverty-stricken or they just come from bad situations. So that's another issue that we're dealing with, and historically black colleges and universities tend to deal with a higher population like that in some instances. So sending kids home, and right now they're working out, trying to find out if they can refund monies for housing, board, room and board, and so forth. Of course, that's through federal guidelines that has to take place. But all of that's kind of thrown out the window right now. Because we're in this what we call the new normal. So as it relates for the university itself, right now, I don't expect anyone to hold face-to-face classes again. I know that Norfolk State University is not doing it for the rest of the semester. So now university is trying to figure out commencement, right?
That's a big question. I mean, people, I saw an interview earlier this week where there was a young lady, and she was a first-generation graduate and a student at Norfolk State, and she was saying, I'm the first person in my family to ever get to this point.
Right.
And now I won't have a graduation.
Well, I tell you what, there are a lot of interesting TikToks out there about online graduating. So while you have that spare time at home, you can look at those. But again, this is a new normal. We're trying to figure it out. We haven't been impacted like this since the Spanish flu of 1918. And yes, it was called the Spanish flu because one of the first cases were found in Spain because of that. So I know there's a big discussion of racism and phobia.
Exactly. And that's why we're going to call it the COVID-19 and coronavirus. Absolutely. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Let's talk to Robert in Portsmouth. Hi, Robert. You're on the air.
Hello, Miss Lee.
Hi.
Prophecy, Miss Lee. I'm going to read a script verse out the Holy Bible. Revelation 6:15. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, the free men, they all hid themselves in the dens and the rocks and the mountains. And said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him. Miss Lee, let me finish, please.
I know, but we're limited on time, so I want you to you're going to have to condense it and tell me what your question is.
Okay. The question is, do you not see that this coronavirus is a lie put out by the world powers?
Okay, thank you very much for your call. Go ahead, Eric.
COVID-19 is real. People are being infected. People are dying. My sister-in-law is an ER physician, and we were talking last night, my family, her family, about the people that are coming in. We've known about this novel virus, which is a part of the coronavirus. Okay, so there are many different viruses,
right? Mm-hmm.
Different strains, just like there are different strains of H1N1, that type of flu virus. And again, the unknown is there. We've known about it for a while. WHO has known about it, especially in China, that area. So again, I'm with Idris Elba. Don't believe those things. That misinformation.
Exactly.
Use common sense.
And I want to bring Anthony in on that also, Anthony, because you just heard that caller that yet again trying to dispel, and I'm very serious about this because I really want particularly the African American community to wake up and to pay attention to this. So go ahead, Anthony.
What I would say, I'll echo what the esteemed gentleman just said before me. People, they want to get into conspiracy theories and this and that, but what we really need to think about is what can we do in real time, because regardless of what you think, whoever you may be, you're speculating. But we have people who are experts who are on your panel and other places, and they're actually providing good information, good recommendations, and they're giving us platforms that we can actually survive and move forward through this, whether it's through, like the gentleman said, 80% of the services industry is going to be affected. Mm-hmm. So I say I don't get caught up in the derivatives or all of that stuff. I get caught up in what can we do now as a community, what can we do as individuals, and how can we move forward, because all that's doing is starting to create chronic stress within all of us, which is going to have some other negative indicators. So I'm like, let's live where we are, take what we have, and use the dynamic people that you've given us all access to. I've learned a whole lot over the phone just listening to your distinguished callers. And if I was closed-minded, I wouldn't have got any information. So yeah, you can harp on conspiracy theories, but that's not gonna feed the bulldog.
Thank you so much for that. Let's talk to Tracy in Virginia Beach. Hi, Tracy. You're on the air.
Hi. I just had a quick question on what the districts are planning to do to service children in the K through 12 setting who are receiving special education services.
Okay, let's let Barbara answer that question. Barbara, were you able to hear the question?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
And we know this is a very important population among our students. And so we have created specialized materials for those children who are receiving special education services, who may have an IEP. And those can be found online on our website. I think they're in depth, they're rich. They really are customized to students who are receiving special ed services. And in addition, our special ed teachers have already reached out to those students and families to make sure that they're supported during this time. So
okay, Barbara, thanks for that. And Tracy, just so that you also know, I know you're calling from Virginia Beach. You might want to check with your individual school district to find out what they're doing very specifically for your school. So I understand Barbara was representing the Norfolk Public School System, but you check with Virginia Beach Public Schools, Suffolk Public Schools, et cetera, to find out exactly what's going on in your child's school district. We appreciate that. Lawrence joins us from Norfolk. Hi, Lawrence. You're on the air.
Hey, how you doing, Bob?
Okay, how you doing? Hello? Hello? Okay, unfortunately, we've lost Lawrence. Are you there? Okay, let's move on to Teresa in Norfolk. Teresa, I'm sorry, from Norfolk.
Yes. Hi, Barbara. How are you?
I'm good.
I'm a Chesapeake Public Schools teacher. I'm a high school teacher, and I have a granddaughter who goes to high school in Northern Virginia, in Woodbridge specifically. And I understand that they have announced closures for a different period of time than we have. And I was just wondering why that would be. If the governor has only ordered school closures until March 27th, why would other districts close for longer than that? Are they getting different information?
Okay, let's find out. I'll start with Eric, and then we'll go to Barbara. Go ahead, Eric.
Yes. So, caller, thank you for the question. Again, there's a lot of different information out there, but what you can do is go to the government website, go to the Virginia governor's website, and also the Department of Education. And you can look at the different orders that the governor has put out and what he's given localities the ability to do based upon state law and federal guidelines. In addition to that, on the Department of Education, that's also, you can find more information there, and then from your local school board as well.
Okay, and Barbara, you want to answer her question also?
We are aligning our operations with the governor's orders, and certainly if he decides to extend the school closure, we'll abide by that. But we are following the governor's recommendations.
Okay. Eric, I want to ask you, because we only got about 14 minutes left in the show. I know it's a lot of stuff, but okay, so we keep hearing that the Dow is falling, is falling, they stop trading, I'm sorry, the majority of us don't have stock. Or so break it down to what that means to me as average citizen. Why am I worried?
Right. So as an average citizen, the Dow has gone up to lengths and heights that no one's ever seen before. All of the gain, however, that was gained under the Trump administration has been given back and is where it was during the Obama time period, which is still very impressive given where we were under the Bush administration, around 6,800, 6,900 as it relates to the Dow. Mm-hmm. But as it relates to the average person, really it affects companies and it affects pensions. All right, so the pension is the really big issue as it relates to the average worker who actually still has a pension, state workers, government workers. Also, as it relates to your 401k, don't look at your 401k. You're going to have a heart attack. It's going to show a big negative number based upon the percentage. However, as our financial advisor told my wife and I back in 2003 with the first tech bubble, this is a great time to buy. Now, I'm not giving that financial advice. Please talk to your financial advisor as it relates to all these things. But do consider that because, again, you have to go with ebbs and flows with the stock market itself. However, as it affects companies, as I stated before, companies now are laying off workers in order to protect profits. They're not making as much money in this turndown. So the average worker they're going to be tremendously impacted with day-to-day operations. Again, what everyone was talking about with the presidential candidate Yang was saying, the universal basic income, also known by UBI. Oh, no, don't give people free money. Everybody wants their free money now because it's really going to help individuals make it from day to day. A lot of people are dependent upon the economy on day to day.
Speaking of that, clear that up because there's a lot of confusion. Some people say it's going to be $1,000. Some say $2,000. Some say the kids are going to get it and the adults are going to get it.
Sure.
I mean, what's the parameter at this point?
Sure. So right now, phase 3 of the stimulus packet or the COVID-19 stimulus packet is being worked in Congress right now. The first was for bailouts. The second is for emergency preparedness to help small businesses, free testing, and so forth. The third is going to be to help, again, small businesses, for those who are losing money, hairdressers, barbers, people like that. Just think about it. Nail shops are not getting any business whatsoever. The basic income that's going to be given to individuals is looking at right about 2 payments, up to $1,000 per payment on the 1st of April checks are going to go out, and then the middle of May, so around May 15th. Also, the tax deadline is being extended as well. Now, these individuals that are going to be getting these payments, the parameters are looking at maybe those individuals who have filed tax returns, individuals who actually are working in the process.
When you say have filed, you mean filed for 2019?
Right. No.
Or have filed
before. Right.
Okay.
Because think about it. If you're not working and you're getting Social Security disability benefits, you're still getting Social Security disability benefits. That hasn't stopped. If you're getting ready to go Social Security because you're retired, that hasn't stopped. So a lot of that's being worked out right now. That now there may be a compromise where that payment does go to those individuals as well in order to stimulate the economy. We don't know just yet, but we do know that a stimulus package is coming to help individuals with day-to-day operations of their homes.
What lesson do you think we're learning about our economy out of all of this in terms of the number of people who are in the gig economy or in hourly workers as opposed to salaried workers? And what do you think is going to be kind of moving forward, how we look at our economy?
Barbara, that's a very good question. Same thing that we kind of learned from the 1918 pandemic of the Spanish flu during that time period, where 500 million people, 1/3 of their population, got infected. 50 million actually died worldwide, 675,000 in the United States. Same thing we learned during the time period of the Great Depression. Same thing we learned in the time period of the 2008 downturn. We have a lot of lessons, but we're not going to learn from them. In other words, what I mean by that is you're going to still have this infighting. We're in a place now where we're approaching $24-25 trillion deficit by the time 2021 comes around with this $1 trillion stimulus package. We're already borrowing $100 billion per month because of since Trump came into office with his additional spending, which again, you have the conservative Republicans who are deficit hawks. Now, you hear nothing about that, and as conservatives, that is disheartening. But with this, it shows the individual that you have to protect yourself. You have to take precautions. If you're going to lose in this economy, lose a home, or the case may be, or come close to it, you have to take stock and inventory. You have to look at your finances. Ask yourself, are we prepared for the short term? Ask yourself, are we prepared for the long term? What are our goals? What are realistic goals? Does debt reorganization makes sense for us? Those type of things. So that's what we should learn from it. But will we be able to answer it with the mechanisms that we have? I don't think we are.
Man, we are just about out of time. I want to give our guests one last piece of advice that you'd like to give to people as we go through this social distancing and as we go through this pandemic. Barbara, let's start with you.
Well, I think we really just parents need to remember that kids don't have to be working on their learning packets, from 9 in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. that it's okay to take bits and pieces of these learning packets. Important for kids to stay engaged, stay active, get fresh air, get some exercise, and just reduce their stress as much as possible.
Okay, thank you so much. That's Norfolk Public Schools Communications Representative Barbara Hunter. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's go to you, Dr. Harris. What do you want people to know?
The biggest thing we can say about all of this is that for the longest time in life, we've been told learning is fun. And what we should do is use this opportunity to continue to feed knowledge, skills, and education into our young people and ourselves so that we have a better understanding of who we are and where we are headed.
Okay. I'm surprised you didn't say wash your hands, which is very important also. That is internist Dr. Alvin Harris. Thank you so much for joining us. Anthony, a final word to our listeners.
So self-care is the key, in my opinion. If you're going to be sequestered or fragmented off, or whatever the term is for the week, you can do things in your house, like you can do exercises or you can creatively reach out through electronic forms of medium, but you could do things and set you up a schedule, whether it's reading something, whether it's meditating on something, whether it's giving you a chance to just take an exhale with the station that you are in your life. And just remember this lastly. Every conversation that we have, what we just did as a collective body, we were able to plant seeds. Imagine each time you engage with someone, you're planting something within them. Make sure in the midst of all of this is going on that you're planting hope, information, encouragement, things that actually add value moving forward. And I think if we do that, the physiology and the mental part of all that's going to help us get better. We're going to get out of this a lot sooner. I appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. And we will have you back on, Anthony. You are fabulous. Author, motivational speaker, and retired Air Force Chief Master Sergeant Anthony Brinkley. And Eric, you get the last minute.
Well, I'll try to make it 30 seconds, but I think this is a great time to reconnect with family. I think this is a time to reconnect with the simplicity of life. Look at the things in your life that you value and make sure you work on those. Also prepare yourself both financially, educationally for the future, short-term, long-term. And as the scripture that we read this morning during our family time this morning, I had my son read 2 Timothy 1:7. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, but of love and force and a sound mind. In other words, you have the power within yourself, as the Master Sergeant stated, for self-care. So take this opportunity, enjoy your family, enjoy who you are, encourage someone, check on your neighbors, and just enjoy the simplicity of life.
Fantastic. That's Dr. Eric LaVille with the Center for African American Public Policy at Norfolk State University. And so I'd like to encourage you to please do your part to help stop the spread of coronavirus by visiting these websites frequently: cdc.gov, vdh.virginia.gov/coronavirus, and whro.org, and for our news department to get the latest information. And please practice social distancing, stay home unless you absolutely have to go out. Wash your hands frequently. Check on loved ones, particularly the elderly. Trust reliable news sources like NPR, PBS, Virginian Pilot, other major newspapers, and again, WHRO News, which is brand new here. Stay off social media if it's making you anxious. We'll get through all of this together if we all work together. Thanks so much for joining us this hour. If you want to share today's show with a friend or listen to it again, please go to our website, anotherviewradio.org, and download the podcast. And we're all over social media, so join us there. Also want to remind you that tonight on WHRO TV, Confronting Coronavirus, a PBS NewsHour special. It airs at 8 to 9 p.m. on TV 15. Our theme music was composed and performed by Jay Sennett. Lisa Godley is our show producer, and Victor Bowen is back as our audio engineer today, and Jordan Yowell answered our phones. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. Stay safe, everyone, and be sure to join us again next Thursday at noon for Another View.